Powered by the Inside the Birds podcast. Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios. This is Football at 4.
Football at 4 is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you locally by Caesars Entertainment Group of Atlantic City. Come experience the ultimate sports destinations all season long. Wild Wild West, Tropicana, Harrah's Resort, Atlantic City. Book your game day experience today. Caesars.com. Don't forget, National Championship game tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Josh has a story up right now about draft prospects to watch in tonight's National Championship game. He had a good conversation with Emery Hunt over the weekend regarding that. And, of course, right now it's Football at 4. Geoff Mosher is here. The Eagles are in the playoffs. They're going to play the Bucs. And we are ready to go. It's all good, too. It's like a Sunday 1 o'clock. It's a very, nothing's out diverted from your normal routine for the Eagles here. This is all good stuff, man. What's going on?
I'm jumping for joy when the game was finally announced at 1 o'clock Sunday. We sports writers like our routine.
Yeah.
And that's
I was
good.
with you last night.
1 o'clock Sunday is perfect.
I saw you tweet last night, hey, basically, I was like, you're telling me the outcome of this game was so important that they didn't know what time the other games were going to fall? Like, come on, man. They had to wait that late to tell us. Not that the normal regular fan cares as much as we do, but, I'm trying to figure out, what I want to do with my schedule for Saturday, Sunday. Do I have to play Eagles game Monday night? All that stuff.
Yep. Yeah, and then, I had a feeling probably soon after kickoff of that game that they were probably going to wait till halftime to announce it, which they did, but they basically announced it right at the end of halftime. I was hoping at the beginning of halftime. Those crucial 15 minutes are important to me, and because it made me think they weren't going to announce it until after the game. And, I briefly considered not watching the end of the game, and then I thought I got to watch it. What a game to see.
Now, let me tell you. I didn't have huge interest in the game, although there was that whole if they tie and yada yada. So, I've been watching these Harlan Coben things on Netflix. You ever watch any of those?
No, I have not seen those.
So he's got a bunch of these. So he's a writer, a mystery kind of murder mystery novel guy, and he has a bunch of these shows on Netflix that I've watched in the past. So we found a one and started watching this last night. Now I'm watching it I've watched football Saturday, Sunday, all day. I took a little break last night because I was I'm not that interested in this game. I don't care who makes the playoffs between the Raiders and the Chargers. We watched about 4 episodes of this show, and right when it was done, there was 5 seconds left in the game on 4th down, and Herbert has the ball, and he throws a touchdown to Mike Williams. I'm like, this is a perfect time for this whole – and then I saw, the whole overtime, and I was like, what a great ending to the game. I mean, it was just that game was epic. For the minute and a half that I got to see of it, it was epic.
You have good timing, my friend. That was a perfect timing. Absolutely. It was epic. And, man – even though they lost, you just watched Justin Herbert. It's almost as if he didn't care until 4th down.
Right.
It was unbelievable how good he was in the most pressure-packed of moments, and that was really. And Derek Carr was great too. It was just really fun to watch.
But I think it also was a good example. There were so many good examples of everything. You have Justin Herbert. That doesn't mean you're a playoff team. You've got Justin Jefferson. That doesn't mean you're a playoff team. There's a lot of great players around the league. That shows how hard it is to get in the playoffs, even with an added playoff team in the mix.
I don't think it's hard to get in the playoffs. We already had this discussion last week. No, maybe for those teams, Mike, because it's been a while for the Raiders, but not for the league as a whole.
I thought Seth Joyner brought up an interesting point. The Eagles made the playoffs this year. There's no guarantee that you're getting back. So that when you're in the playoffs and you actually make it, you go all out. Orlando Skandrick tweeted, who do the Eagles think they are, resting guys? Hey, I'm in the dance. I'm taking my best shot with the most healthy roster that I can, because there is no guarantee that you will get back next year. Just because you made it this year, you have 3 first-round picks, you have no idea what's going to happen the next year.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I just don't – the Eagles didn't have anything to play for that outweighed the reward of having your veterans rested and not getting anybody injured. the best you could do was get the 6th seed, and there was a chance that they could lose and still get the 6th seed, right? In fact, a lot of people thought that they would still get the 6th seed because it all came down to then what happened with San Francisco and New Orleans and all that. So there was just, to me, no benefit other than saying, quote unquote, we've got some momentum going. But like, let's say you're an elite team, right? You're playing for the number 1 seed. What are you playing for? To have a bye week. I mean, you're also playing for home field advantage. That's obviously a big part of it. But when you get the number 1 seed, you get a bye.
Yeah.
And everybody talks about how great it is to have that bye. They don't say, oh, man, the Tennessee Titans now have a bye. That's a bad thing. They're losing momentum, right? They say how great of a thing it is when you have a bye. So the Eagles chose to have their bye this week because their playoff seeding was not – there was nothing really to play for. So I don't really see an issue with it.
Yeah.
And, they're playing with house money for most people anyway. And so you just want to be as healthy as possible and take your best shot.
Yeah, I mean, and there's plenty of examples just in that game. I mean, Dallas scored 56 against Washington 3 weeks ago. The next week, their offense struggled against Arizona, and they only scored 22. So the fact that they looked like, they found their ground, they look like they've got momentum, it didn't even carry over to the very next week. Philadelphia scored 40 against the Saints. The very next week, they had their worst offensive performance of the season, scoring 7 against the Giants. So I agree with you. I had no problem with what they did. Now, some of it, Jeff, and I don't think they would have changed their approach, but they were forced into this. I mean, they had 11 guys on the COVID list.
Yes, they did have 11 guys on the COVID list. I find it fascinating that the only guy who came off was Jason Kelce's, and he was able to play his 1 snap and get out of there.
Yeah.
And then nobody else came off the list.
And today they were all activated.
Oh, where's it? I was wondering if that was going to be the case.
Every guy today, about 5 minutes ago, they all got activated.
That's what I figured. So I said that to Adam yesterday on the podcast that dropped this morning. I said, it wouldn't surprise me if at right around 4:00 on Monday, after they've clinched and they know who they're playing, if all of a sudden you see a wave of guys who are on the COVID list, just all of a sudden come off, and there you go.
Yeah, they were all – and then J.J. Arcega-Whiteside got put on the injured reserve. I don't know what happened to him, but – I'd hate to harp on that play, but I actually tried to defend the guy in the front office by saying this. Look, there is no tape in the world out there of a college player dropping that pass. Like, you can never account for the guy being that awful. But he somehow has found a way to be that bad. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. Yes, he's not been a very good pick.
He got hurt, though, apparently, so he's done. I don't know. I mean, he plays special teams, so he has some role. Jason Huntley has been elevated from the practice squad to the active roster.
Yes, Jason Huntley, although Nick Sirianni did say today that it's going to be difficult to get Huntley up on game day, depending on what happens with the running backs. If Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, and Boston Scott are all available to play, you're not going to have 4 running backs active. And Gainwell will be active, so you will have 4. You're not going to have 5 running backs. Right. But would you use
Huntley in the return game?
Sure, why not? I mean, do I like taking one sample size and saying, this guy is clearly better than everybody else? No, but I mean, you might as well use him to serve a purpose. If you think he's good at it and he does it well in practice, and you've had him on your practice squad all year. I always wonder why certain guys who are like John Hightower, all right, he's been on your practice squad all year long. You've protected him all year long as well. Did they play him on Saturday against Dallas?
He did not.
Then what the hell? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse there, but like, why? Why did you have Elijah Holyfield on your whole team last year, and then when you had running back issues, you didn't call him up? I don't understand sometimes the purpose of carrying guys on the practice squad if you have zero intention of ever playing them.
Yeah, it's strange the way these organizations think. Now, Tyree Jackson did get hurt. Is that significant? Not really. I mean, he barely played. He barely played all year. He got one shot to play really in this game.
Right. I think it's significant because not for this year, but because, he's still a project, and he was a nice surprise at training camp, good enough to make the team, has a wonderful, size and frame for that position and athleticism. And I really thought he needed another round of OTAs in training camp to continue to work on his craft and see if he couldn't, continue to be a good backup tight end who, if there was an injury, could come in, catch some passes, be a mismatch. And he's unfortunately not going to be able to participate in any OTAs. Can't imagine that. And then even probably the start of training camp is going to be questionable for him. So it's a lot of lost time for him, a lot of lost development time that a guy like him really needs.
Yeah, that was a shame because, he's 6'7". He was a quarterback in college. He makes his first couple catches. He scores a touchdown. They had some, I remember Howie back in preseason saying, when you have a guy that can do what this guy does, you try to figure out what to do with them. And they kept him around all season long, and he finally gets healthy. But he was not – you don't think he was going to be a part of the playoff plan?
No, I mean, only when they go to 13 personnel every once in a while, short yardage, or where we want to run the ball down your throat.
And they have Richard Rodgers.
Yes, they have Richard Rodgers, who's just as capable of throwing that block as Tyree Jackson would have been.
Right. Let's take a look at this, the matchup here a little bit. Obviously, these are two different teams in the first time they played. In fact, they are different because of personnel, injury situation. Philadelphia is different mindset-wise, Geoff.
Yeah, it's a big difference. Obviously, the Eagles have changed their identity, not just on offense. That is a big part of it, the running game, but also on defense. They don't play as much cover two. They will bring a safety into the box. They did make a move at linebacker. That's really the only personnel move that's different. They don't have Eric Wilson. They have TJ Edwards. They've been way better against the run because of it. They'll play a little bit more man coverage than they have on third, actually a lot more than the first few weeks. And they even play dime when they need to play dime. So they're a more versatile offense. They're a more balanced, defense, more balanced defense. They can throw some different things at you. And so it's not the same. You saw the way the Bucs played the game against the Eagles the first time. They were very content to run the ball against the Eagles, who were not stopping the run. And they were very content to nickel and dime the Eagles, which I think they'll do again. They'll try to do again, but I imagine it won't be as easy. Didn't the Buccaneers score on their first 6 possessions of that game the first time? Something crazy like that, whether it was touchdowns or field goals. I know the final score was 28-22, but it was 28-7 going into the fourth quarter. So it was really a one-sided game and we know Brady completed 81% of his passes and they controlled time of possession.
Yeah, the first game, it was 28-7, and that was the game where the Eagles came back into that game because the Bucs seemingly took their foot off the gas. But if you remember, in that game was the game where they were kind of in it, and then Avery got called for that taunting penalty, and that really just sealed the deal.
Yes, and then, of course, what really sealed it for the Tampa Bay was the third down catch made by Antonio Brown, who won't be in the game, between two defenders. It was actually a well-defended play, but Antonio Brown made a phenomenal catch. But you're right, the Avery penalty was really big. Allowed give him second chance life and allowed them to run the clock out. They scored touchdowns on 3 of their first 5 possessions, as I look at it there. So, and they had drives of 10 plays, 75 yards, 9 plays, 75 yards, 11 plays, 72 yards, 12 plays, 78, and 12 for 52. So, they were perfectly fine just kind of working the ball up and down the field against the Eagles.
Right, and now, I mean, Mike Evans is really all they have left. There's not going to be Godwin. You're not going to have – now, of course, they have Gronk too, but I don't know what Fournette's situation is in this game either.
Sounds like he's going to be good to go.
I would imagine. Yeah, I would imagine they've been holding him out and get him, but – There's certainly going to be a different offense from the one we saw in Philadelphia. I don't think that's deterred Brady all that much. He's thrown for over 5,000 yards. I mean, they put up a 40 spot yesterday.
His stats are unbelievable. Now, they've had some shaky games here, as you would expect when you lose Antonio Brown in the manner that they lost Chris Godwin and lost Fournette. I mean, they struggled against the Jets. They lost 9-0 to the Saints the week before that, or 2 weeks before that. They've played the Panthers twice in the last 4 weeks, and the Panthers are just a sorry excuse for an organization right now. And they're playing 2 different quarterbacks at times. So we've talked about the ease of the Eagles schedule. I mean, you got to look at the Tampa Bay schedule and fairly not be critical, but look at it with the same kind of eye and saying, are you really doing? I mean, I know you dropped 41 yesterday on who was it, Atlanta, or that they closed their season out on?
Tampa played Carolina.
I'm sorry, Carolina. Right. We were just talking about that. But I mean, man, they've had it pretty easy the last 4 weeks as far as the caliber of opponent.
Well,
And not every
and they
game have
played
they
the Jets
dominated.
the week before and really, I
Yeah.
mean, struggled in that game against the Jets. I mean, realistically, if it's anybody other than the Jets, they might lose that game. They lost 9-0 to the game in the game against the Saints, too.
Yep, I brought that up. So, yeah, so they're a different team. But I do think that what will stay the same is, and Gronk, whatever the prop is on Gronk yards, I would hammer the over because I just think that Tom is going to look to wear out
Yeah.
the Eagles' interior defense with throws to Gronk, and I wouldn't be surprised if they played a little more two tight end and try to get Brady involved as well. And you remember the first game, right? I think O.J. Howard caught a touchdown. The tight ends have hurt the Eagles a lot this year. I think that has a lot to do with their personnel at linebacker and safety.
Yeah.
And we'll see.
Antonio Brown, by the way, had 9 for 93 in that first game. He had 13 targets, so the Eagles don't have to deal with him. Now, if you remember the first game, Moshe, the Eagles are down. I think it's 28-7. They didn't run the ball, I don't think, once the entire first half. And then they started to run the ball with some – Sanders had 9 for 56. He was the only running back that had a carry in the entire game, but he averaged 6 yards a carry. They started to run the ball well late in that game against Tampa. You wonder, do they think that they can come out there and push Tampa around and run the ball against them?
I have a feeling that they think that they're going to at least try. I mean, that they're not going to deviate.
And I don't think Lane Johnson
from
played in this game either, by the way.
Yes, I think you're right that he did not. I'm positive that they're going to try to run the ball against the Tampa Bay because that's what they do. The only question you have right now is who are you running the ball with? Because Nick Sirianni said today that he's hopeful that both Miles Sanders and Jordan Howard and everybody will be back. But he didn't say they're definitely going to be back. We'll probably know more on Wednesday. As I reported many weeks ago, the procedure he had, Miles Sanders, involved getting a pin in your hand. It was a break. So it's typically an injury that's going to keep you out around 3 weeks, just non-contact. So this would be the 3-week mark. So even if he's cleared to play in practice, you have to wonder how effective you can be as a running back, a ball carrier, when you're just coming off a broken hand, right? And for example, Jordan Howard is dealing with a shoulder stinger, which can linger, as we saw last time he had one, and a slight sprain. And how effective was he against Washington? None at all. He was 11 carries for 26 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the concern right now, is that just like the Bucs are sitting here trying to throw the ball without having Brown and without having Godwin, the Eagles may be trying to run the ball. That's their bread and butter, with either not having Sanders or a banged up Sanders and a banged up Howard.
Geoff Mosher, we got all sorts of firings around the NFL. We don't know about what's going on with Joe Judge. I mean, he could get fired in the middle of this conversation, I guess. Apparently he's meeting with John Mara. But were there any surprises, anything that you were like, whoa?
Well, I think we're all a little bit surprised to see Brian Flores out in Miami. I mean, they rebounded from a really bad start. They beat the Patriots twice, 2 winning seasons in a row, which I don't think has happened for the Dolphins in forever, right? So I was a little bit surprised by that. Now, of course, you see some of the reports from the Miami area writers that he was tough to get along with. There was a power struggle. We've seen all that before.
Yep.
In these parts of the woods. So it's never really surprising. It really does. There's something about this Belichick tree, man. Joe Judge now, and these guys, Bill O'Brien, Matt Patricia, Josh McDaniel. It seems like they don't learn the lessons of those who came before them about relating to either your players or the people who are around you. Maybe you come in with an entitled type of attitude that football better than anybody else because you coached under Bill Belichick. But for whatever reason, they all seem to get cut from the same cloth and get saddled with the same reputation.
Yeah. The last thing I'll leave you with is, obviously, a lot of these guys who are out of jobs are well-respected defensive guys, to which everybody now wants the Eagles to go, hey, go get Vic Fangio, go get Brian Flores. Who else is a defensive coordinator that is now available? Mike Zimmer. That's not happening.
I don't think the Eagles
unless Gannon got a head coaching job. That
would be the only way that you could see it happening. I cannot imagine the Eagles firing Jonathan Gannon, no matter how bad some fans want that to happen. What did they wind up finishing in total defense? Where they were pretty decent, right? As far as scoring defense.
I realized top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it right now. It was better than most people would give them credit for. So I don't see now. Look, you can debate the schedule thing. It's true. It's fair. But I just don't think that Jonathan Gannon's getting fired. Yeah, they finished 10th overall in total yards allowed. So 10th in total defense. He's not getting fired.
Yeah. And 22.6 points a game was somewhere in the middle of the pack in terms of points per game.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if he gives up like a 50 spot on Sunday against the Bucs, then I don't know. I just can't see it happening.
Geoff Mosher, Football at 4. Don't forget the brand new Inside the Birds podcast. I'm imagining you guys will be live 10 o'clock Sunday morning with the pregame show. Geoff will be back on Friday. Him and Adam are going to be flip-flopping. Adam will be on Wednesday. Geoff will be on Friday for this week's no, that's going to be moving forward, right?
Yeah, I just found out about that in that email myself. So,
right.
No, I'm just kidding. Kaplan pulling rank.
Well, there you go. So we're having a couple of little trade on Football at 4. Mosher from Wednesday to Friday and Kaplan from Friday to Wednesday. So Geoff will be back on Friday's show. All right, Geoff Mosher, you'll get the official pick for the Football at 4 crew.
Can't wait.
All right, man. I'll talk to you.
Take care.
There's Geoff Mosher, Football at 4. It is powered by the Inside the Birds podcast, and it is brought to you locally by Caesars Entertainment Group of Atlantic City.